Hey everybody, Rob from Karma Comic Chameleon coming at you with another entitled parent story. Your dad could have died, but you don't need to know that. Let's jump right in. I am so happy I finally have enough karma to post stories here. I've got lots to share. When it comes to women who are entitled, I don't refer to them as Karens, mainly because I know many good women named Karen, either through work or family relations and friends. For me, I only know the entitled as Linda, and there is a very good reason for it. When it comes to my dad, he had a very poor selection process in the women he would date or marry because they almost all turned out to be entitled people. One thing I can say for the entitled, they are brimming with self-confidence, and I think that was a major draw for my dad when it came to women he liked because he too was a very proud and self-confident man. He's officially been married 3 times, including my own mother, who is a bit entitled, but those are stories for another time, and had a potential entitled girlfriend / wannabe wife before, Linda. The name Linda has officially become synonymous with the word entitled after our family had to suffer at her hands for almost 10 years, so I have no shortage of stories. The story I'm about to tell is one that was burned into my memory far more than any other moment I had to deal with her. A quick history on Linda. She was a woman in her early 40s at the time she came into our lives. She had no kids of her own and met my dad at his high school reunion. They hit it off and started a long-distance relationship, keeping in touch, and my dad soon came and told my sister and I that he would be marrying her. I was 15 years old at the time, and after going through all the drama of his divorce with my mom and having the entitled girlfriend experience, I was uneasy about it. She literally flew into our lives, she used to live and work in Utah, and married my dad within months of him telling us about her. We never really had a formal greeting or time to get to know her. She was just suddenly there. At first, she acted all nice to my sister and I, putting up a front of how happy she was to be our mom. In the back of my head, I always thought, how can you be happy to be a mom when you've never raised your own kids? But I put it off that maybe I was being too judgmental as a teenager. I didn't want to try to Cinderella the situation with my new stepmom right off the bat. But let's get to the story and our cast. In this story, there's me, Captain Obvious, my mom, the Linda, and my dad. Warning, there will be some use of military jargon. I will try to clarify what the jargon means in parentheses. This story occurred when I was 21 and had joined the US Navy. I was stationed up at Great Lakes, Illinois, and was working through what the military calls a C school. Basically, it's a school that specializes in more advanced training for specific systems and operations for my rate. Rate is your selected job, like damage control man, boatswain's mate, etc. It was late after 9 p.m. and I was in my barracks sitting at my desk studying for my next exam when the room's landline phone rang. I answered, and it was my mother. She was calm, but sounded troubled. Our conversation was as followed. Hello? OP, I'm sorry to bother you so late. Your dad is in the hospital. What? What happened? Is he okay? I think he's alright. He had a heart attack. Did you not know? No, I'm just hearing about this from you. When did this happen? It was this morning. Your dad called me saying he was on his way to the hospital. He said he couldn't get a hold of Linda, so he's been calling his friends and me to let others know so someone could tell her. I don't like calling her, but it seems your dad's friends finally reached her this afternoon and told her what happened. I thought she would have called you. Okay, thank you for telling me. I'm going to try and call my dad or Linda to see how he's doing. We hung up and I was already seething. At first at both my mother and Linda for neither of them calling me sooner to tell me about my dad or what his condition was. I was fairly sure he wasn't dead from the heart attack since my mother's tone wasn't mournful, and he's had at least 2 heart attacks already, and he is wise to recognize the signs early enough to call 911. I called my dad's cell, hoping he was awake and able to answer from what hospital he was in, but there was no answer. I then begrudgingly called Linda's phone. Here's how that conversation went. Hello? Firmly and assuming Linda was with my dad, Linda, it's OP. Where is my dad? How is he? Can I talk to him? He was asleep last I saw him. The last time you saw him? You're not with him right now? No, I am tired. I went home so I can go to bed. I have plans for tomorrow. Your only plans should be to get your ass back to the hospital and be there for my dad. He's fine. He can take care of himself. I have to take the dogs to their ground dog training. I can't cancel that. It's important. Ground dog training was for dogs that were originally bred to go down into burrows and holes to flush out badgers, prairie dogs, rabbits, things that burrow. It's an archaic dog sport. The damn dog's training is not a priority. You should be there with my dad and not leave him alone after having a heart attack. And why didn't you call me to tell me about my dad's condition? Does my sister even know? It's none of your business what I do with my time, and I didn't call you because I didn't think you needed to know. I am his daughter. I always need to know when something happens to my dad to send him to the hospital. I don't care if I'm 100 miles away, overseas, or in space. I don't care if you think information about him isn't important. The fact that I didn't learn about my dad's situation and condition until 10 minutes ago from my mom clearly shows you don't care at all. Well, now you know at least. I hung up. My roommate looked at me, rather scared after she watched me yell over the phone with such anger. I resolved to call my dad the next day during the afternoon when I was on lunch from my training classes. Here's how this conversation went. Hello? Daddy! Yes, I said daddy. I heard about your heart attack. Are you okay? How are you? Hey, kiddo, thanks for calling. Yeah, doctor said it was only a mild heart attack. I'm getting discharged today. Oh, thank goodness. I was so worried. After my mom told me... Wait, mom told you about my heart attack? Yes. She said you called her and several of your friends when you couldn't reach Linda. Yeah, I did, but that doesn't excuse her for bad-mouthing Linda. What are you talking about? My mom didn't badmouth her. Linda told me mother called her and yelled at her, calling her names and saying rude and inappropriate things to her. No, that was me. I was yelling at her. It was after 9 p.m. and my mother called me telling me about what happened to you. I called Linda and was pissed that she wasn't at the hospital with you and had plans to take the dogs to their training instead of being there with you. Our conversation basically broke down that Linda lied to my dad to turn him against my mom for calling me. She wanted to punish my mom for letting me know about my dad's heart attack. My dad said he would deal with it once he got home. Later that afternoon, my C-school let out. I got back to my barracks and found I had a message on the answering machine. It was my mom, and the message said, "Why did you tell Linda that I called you? She's been calling me and yelling at me that I had no business calling you about my dad. I don't know what to do. This is your fault. Make her stop calling me." Did I mention my mom is also a bit entitled? I guess it was my fault to a point, but Linda's actions were completely uncalled for. I ended up calling Linda myself, and again, we had a yelling match. Linda said my mom had no business calling me. I told Linda to F off and that my mom had every right to tell me about my dad's condition, and I talked to my dad and told him to stop Linda from calling my mom, and that he better not take Linda's side on this. They need to leave my mom alone because I was grateful that my mom called me, otherwise I wouldn't have known. I had to threaten not coming home for Christmas leave to ensure that both my mom and my dad would stop this war of phone tag, and that Linda would be put in her place. Threatening to cancel leave became a default for me to stop any petty quarrels between my parents. They didn't want to be the cause for me to not want to come home. Linda wouldn't care either way, but for my mom and my dad to not have me home because I was disgusted with their behavior actually helped them to see how petty they were acting, and they started to be civil towards each other eventually. But TLDR, Linda held a grudge against my mom and wanted to punish her because my mom told my sister and I about my dad's heart attack and condition. So Linda tried to start a phone war between my mom and my dad. I later found out my sister had called and yelled at Linda too because neither of us knew until my mom called. This story, this memory, is the reason I grew to officially hate Linda with every fiber of my being. I saw her as a danger to my dad, and any time I was home on leave and I made eye contact with her, she was forced to look away because I'm sure she could feel my hatred burning deep into her soul, and that I would never forgive her. I will bring this story to a close, but fear not. As mentioned before, I have many more stories to tell about Linda, and probably other stories to tell about the entitled girlfriend, wannabe wife, and even my own mom. So you mean to tell me that the dog was more important to Linda than her husband being in the hospital or letting his kids know that there was something seriously wrong with him. What the actual f***? I'm happy to say, however, that I've ascertained from the comments that Linda and OP's father are no longer together. There was a divorce, and she is no longer in the lives of OP or OP's father. Speaking of OP, I want to say thank you to you/SaturnGrl for giving me permission to narrate this story and post it up on YouTube. Make sure you check out you/SaturnGrl on Reddit and give her an upvote for this epic story. Link in the description below. Once again, this is Rob from Karma Comic Chameleon saying thanks for watching. If you enjoyed the video, I ask you to subscribe, like, and share it with your friends, and we'll see you in the next one.